Hello again, welcome to MasterCAM course. In that lecture, we're going to talk about 4-axis application in MasterCAM. I'm going to turn to SolidWorks actually. I'm going to create some and sketch on the right plane, and then let me create my polygon. I'm going to start from my origin point like this one, and then I can select this line to make them horizontal, and after that we can use the smart dimension and to organize our distance. My distance can be 60 millimeter like this one, and then I can turn to the features and extrude base feature, and then we can create maybe and that's kind of and extrude both options. And after that maybe we should create another and sketch here, and it can be, let me turn to and circle options. For example, we can create actually 80 millimeter diameter and the circle, and then we can create extra extrude feature and the balls, and then it can be actually 50 millimeter. And then actually it is easy for us and we can easily save that file. And then maybe we should also create different examples here. For example, and we can create face toolpath or contour toolpath, whatever you want. And you can also create some, actually here, you can also create some 3-axis toolpath, okay, to be able to handle that. And let me create some and radius here for this edge, this edge, this edge, this one, and this one. Of course, we can also select the face. That's also possible to organize it. Let me change to my radius. My radius can be, okay, my radius can be 10 millimeter. And after that, let me save that file. And this is the MasterCAM multi-axis courses. So that's why let me create some 4-axis actually polygon. Okay, this is my SolidWorks part actually. Okay, after that let me turn back to the MasterCAM, and then we can easily open that SolidWorks part by using the MasterCAM. And we can hit the open part options, and then we can change here. I can turn to the all file types, and then we're gonna see our SolidWorks part. So let me double click on it, and then we're gonna see that our product on MasterCAM. Let me turn back to isometric perspective to be able to see everything is fine or not. So you can see that this is x-axis, y-axis, and z-axis. Okay, I think that's okay, but it will be better for us to rotate a little bit my product. Actually, you can see that this is not actually, and yeah, actually we can change our part position. So let me turn back to here. This is the front view. Oops, sorry, it can be right view. We can see that z-axis turned to on that direction, and then we can easily turn to the transform and rotate options. And after that we can select our body and then hit the OK button, and then I just need to rotate my product 30 degree with move options. Okay, don't forget to hit that button. And after that I just need the OK button, and then we can use the right mouse button to be able to hit clear color button. That's it. We can turn to the C plane as a top view again. Anyway, that's okay. Let me save my file. Okay, we can save our file, and then we can turn to the wireframe and then curve on edge options, and then let me create some edge here. Okay, this is my edge. Maybe it is also possible to actually extend our line using the modify length options. Okay, it can be maybe 5 millimeter for this one and this one. Okay, maybe we can make them 10 millimeter like this one. So I also need to extend extra 5 mm for this part. Okay, we can hit the blue button, and then I can write extra 10 mm like this one and this one. Anyway, everything seems fine. Let me save my file again, and then we can turn to the machine and default machine. It's okay. And let me create my toolpad. I can use the right mouse button and mill toolpad options and the contour toolpad. And then I just need to select this line and hit the OK button. And then let me turn to the tool options. I can use the right mouse button to create my tool. And my tool can be 20 mm diameter. Okay. And then I can write my feed rate. Oops. 0.2, and I can write my cutting speed. It's fine. So this is my plunge rate, maybe it's fine. And then let me turn to the linking parameters. So I prefer to use the incremental. This is the 10 mm according to my geometry position, 5 mm, an incremental top of stock, and oops, sorry, it can be and the 15, 10, and maybe we should write here 8 mm and 0. Incremental, and all of them accepted as a incremental position. So we're gonna start from according to my line position. Okay, this is the 10 mm for feed plane, 8 mm for top of stock, and this is my final depth 0. It means that this is my final position according to my line. And after that, let me turn to here, compensation, and the tool diameter compensation is going to be calculated by the computer. And then we're going to be on the left side according to my chain. We can turn to the chain and geometry. You're going to see that we're going to be on the left side of my geometry. Okay. And then that's it. Let me turn to here. To organize my depth cut, it can be 1 mm, and then we just need to hit the OK button. You can also see that some lead in and lead out parameters is also added automatically. Let me close that part. Okay, we already extended our line, so that's why I don't want to use it. Okay, of course, if you would like to extend more, you can turn to the modify options, and you can also extend 10 mm here and here, and then you can recalculate your toolpath. And then let me hit that button to see what I did. Okay, this is my toolpath actually. Okay, we're gonna start from here and then create my toolpath. Okay, it is also possible to use the multi-line options. We can turn to here and activate multi-line. I just want to see the 10 mm multi-line, and then 1, and the finish passes with 1 mm. Okay, maybe we should make them 8 mm. I don't know. And after that, let me hit here to calculate my toolpath. And after that, we're gonna start from here. You can see that this one and this one, this one and this one, and we can create that kind of and the toolpath actually. So we can start from here, this one and the finish one. You can see all that stuff here. Okay, and it's also possible to organize, of course, by using this part. Okay, you can also use the zigzag method as a rough. Actually, you can also use the by contour or by pass options. You can also organize the finish passes here. Okay, you can say that all depths or final depth options. It's also possible to select that options. Okay, let me see the and actually zigzag options for roughing. You're gonna see that. Okay, let me start from here. You can see that in the zigzag options, this one and this one and this one and this one, and the end of and that's operation. We can turn to our actually finishing process. If you would like to use actually here, you can also turn to the final depth options here. Okay, you can only see the one toolpath as a final depth, this one and this one, and end of the roughing section you're gonna see the only one finishing process. Anyway, that's okay. Okay, so this is actually 2-axis toolpath. So after that, let me save my file, and we can turn to the plane options, and then we can copy that toolpath to be able to copy my toolpath actually, and we can easily actually copy my toolpath. Okay, let me copy. Oops, sorry. We can easily turn back to here and right mouse button, and then we can hit the duplicate button. You can see the same VCS with the and the top view actually. Okay, and after that it's easy for us. We can easily use the right mouse button, and then we can hit the rotate incremental options. According to x-axis, okay, we can rotate our VCS and 60 degree like this one. Okay, and after that we can hit the OK button. So maybe we should and click here, and then we can write and the 60 here as a name. Okay, so we can easily turn to VCS, C-axis, and the tool axis here. All of them is possible. And after that, actually, it is not and easy for us. It is easy for us to create our toolpath according to that perspective. So we can also turn to actually. Let me turn to the and top view again, like this one, and then we can turn to the C plane as a right, and then we can turn to the transform and rotate and select this line and hit the and selection button, and then we can easily and copy and rotate that line. We can turn to the clear color options, and then we can turn to the SSC plane top view. After that, we can turn to the VCS and the C plane and the tool plane here. After that, we can turn to the and actually toolpath options, and then we can copy our toolpath and paste it here, and we can change our geometry. We can use the right mouse button here and delete this one and add new one by using the right mouse button, and then we can easily select our geometry. And then we need to turn back to here and plane options. So this is the actually coordinate system as a top, and the tool plane actually can be selected this one, and construction plane is also selected this one. Okay, and then we can also hit the and manual options by and actually -1 or 0. Okay, let me try to 0 and hit that button, hit this one, and then we can also turn to here to make them 0 and hit the OK button. Anyway, this is my toolpath. Let me get my G code. Actually, I'm not gonna get my G code because of this is the an education level of MasterCAM. So when you get your G code, you're gonna see that all your A and A axis operation in your G code. Okay, this is the actually and 4-axis toolpath by changing to your VCS. So according to my perspective actually, so we can turn to the actually let me turn to the my plane. Okay, we can easily turn to here. This is the top VCS, it's isometric view. You can see we can turn to the C plane as a right again, and then we can select that line, transform and rotate it, and we can copy with that degree, and then we can activate all that line here with the copy and clear color options, and then we can turn to the C plane as a top. So when we turn to the actually plane again, we can use the right mouse button for this one and duplicate it. We can use the right mouse button, and then we can easily use the rotate incremental according to x-axis. We can use the 120 degree here. So let me write this one, and then we can also duplicate that axis and rotate incremental, and then we can rotate it with that degree, and we can also duplicate that axis. We can use actually rotate incremental. Okay, so we can rotate this one, and then we can, as a final, and let me duplicate this one again, and we can also use and rotate incremental options, and then we can rotate it with that degree, and then we can change here, and then we can turn to the actually toolpath options. We can copy here. We can start from this one to be able to change my chain. I can select this one. I just need to change my plane. Okay, this is the actually that degree, and that plane must be selected as a, and the tool plane and compensation plane. Oops, sorry. Okay, it is okay right now. Okay, let me turn to the here. We can delete this one and this one. I can select this geometry, and then we just need to change that one with that degree. Okay, that toolpath is calculated automatically. Let me change this one, and then I can turn to the here to organize my degree. My degree can be selected, and this one. Okay, let me select my plane. Oops, sorry about the noise. Let me select my and degree like this one. And this is the final. Anyway, let me select all my toolpath, and then we can use here this one and this one and this one. Okay, that's it. You can easily get your and 4-axis toolpath in MasterCAM. Hello again, welcome back. As you remember that we are creating our toolpath, and by creating our and VCS, you can see that we just use the right mouse button and the duplicate and the top VCS, and then we can use actually and rotate incremental options to rotate and duplicated VCS. And after that, we just need to turn back to our toolpath, and then our and the parameters and the planes. We just need to change our tool plane and the construction plane, and then to be able to organize our and the VCS, we just need to turn to manual options to make them and the G54. Okay, so after that, let me create my 3-axis toolpath. To be able to create my 3-axis toolpath, actually I just need to turn back to the surface. Okay, and under the surface options, I just need to click on and from and the solid, this one, and then I can turn to the actually solid selection. You can see that this is the face selection active and body it's not active. After that, I just need to select this face and hit the OK button, and then we're gonna see our and the surface is created here. And after that, maybe I can select and my solid body, and then we can use the right mouse button, and then we can hit the level options. This is the change level options, and then we can and unselect the use active level options, and then we can write as a 2, and then we can hit the OK button. After that, and on the operation page, we can hit the level options, and then we can make them and visible. Okay, so after that, we can turn to the top view, and we can turn to the 2D, and then we can organize our VCS like and the 50, and then let me create some actually line here. For example, I can hit the and horizontal line. We can start from here to here, and then make them axis offset is 0, and then actually and we can turn to the free form starting from here. Oops, sorry, let me turn to the here. Anyway, let me turn here, and then we can create and let me turn to actually top view again. We can create that kind of geometry like this one, so it's not so important actually. So after that, yeah, actually it is not necessary, but I just and playing my and process. After that, we can turn to the surface and trim to curves, and the trim to curves options. We can select this one and hit the and selection button, and then we can select our geometry and hit the OK button, and then we need to select and actually side we want to and keep in our design. After that, we're gonna get that kind of and actually face, and then let me create some curve like this one. Of course, before that, we need to turn back to the 3D, and then we can easily create and some geometry here. And after that, actually I don't need that face, I can delete it as well. So I have that kind of curve. So yeah, actually you can easily say that no, yeah, yes, it is not necessary. You can easily and turn to do this view, and then you can easily create that kind of arc here. Yes, you are right. But what if you have and the different and the geometry or the different profile here? So that's why I am using the that way actually. And after that, let me turn back to do my C plane. It can be front view, and then surface options, and then we can hit the draft options, and we can select this arc here, and then I can select and I can easily create my drafts and face by using the as a direction, both side direction. Actually maybe it can be 25 millimeter, maybe, I don't know. Okay, and let me hit, maybe it can be 30. Okay, after that we can hit the OK button. It's fine, you can see that. Okay, after that I just need to turn back to the C plane as a top. We are working on the 3D options with the Z position 0. And after that, let me create another curve here and the wireframe curve on the edge options, and then I can easily create my edge here and here. Okay, so we have some edge here. After that, we can turn to the here and the draft face, and then we can turn to the actually partial and weight options. I can select this one, and then we can hit the OK button, and then I just need to write 80 millimeter, and then we can easily use the opposite direction. So maybe we should also write maybe 6. Okay, we can use the 10 millimeter tool to handle that space. After that, let me turn back to right view, and we can create another curve here and here, and then we can create extra draft face here by using the partial and like this one, and then I just need to create and 5 millimeter or 5.1 millimeter maybe face here. Anyway, after that I can turn to the top view again. We are working on the 2D, and then we can make them and the 60, and then that's it. And let me turn to actually transform and the project options. After that, actually we need to select some geometry. So anyway, let me turn to the here. We can use the line entities. Let me focus here. Actually, we don't have any geometry here yet. I don't know. Anyway, let me focus here. We can create some curve on the edge here and here. It is projected automatically as well. I can create this one and this one. Okay, so all of them is enough for me. This one, this one, this one, and this one is created and automatically right now. So after that process, actually let me use the trim entities options. Okay, we can turn to the here, trim two entities, and the trim options. We can start from this one to this one, this one to this one, this one to this one. Okay, and then we can use the right mouse button, and then we can easily turn to the different color. Okay, anyway, let me turn back to the toolpath, and then I can hit the toolpath options, surface finish toolpath, and then I can prefer to use the contour toolpath for this face, this face, this face, this face, and this face. And then we can hit the OK button, and then we just need to select our boundary. We can turn to the chain options, and then we can select our boundary, and then we can hit the OK button, and then let me create my tool. My tool can be 10 millimeter and ball, and I can prefer to use the that's cutting speed and the that's feed rate, and my feed rate and spindle speed and calculate it automatically. And then we can turn to the surface options. As a retract, we can prefer to use incremental 3 and incremental 1. We can also activate our clearance plane with the absolute coordinate. It means that we're gonna use that point and it's a 60 millimeter, but according to my face, we can use the 3 millimeter for retract position because we select incremental options. And then we can write 1 millimeter as a step over and the optimize and the cut order and the zigzag method and the conventional machining strategies. As a depth cut, we can make them 0 to 0. And then as a transaction, we can select to move and the follow the surface options, and then we can hit the OK button, and then we're gonna get actually that kind of toolpath. Okay, it's also possible to change actually our and step down process after the calculating your toolpath. If you see the everything seems fine for you, you can easily change your step over and step down maybe, and then you're gonna get that kind of toolpath and everything seems fine. And after that, actually we just need to turn back here. Okay, and as remember that we need to select and our C plane again. We can turn to the right view, and then we can turn to the transform and the rotate options. We can select this one, this one, this one, and this one. And maybe we should also, we can also select our boundary, and then we can hit the OK button, and then you're gonna see that we can easily rotate our actually faces. Okay, so it can be 5, and then we can hit the OK button. Anyway, let me turn back to and the top view again. So we're gonna talk about, let me copy that toolpath and paste it here, and then we can turn to the geometry. It's a drive surface can be removed, and then I just need to select this one, this one, this one, and this one, and hit that button, and then we can easily change our boundary as well. This is my new boundary, and then we can turn to the parameters, and we need to organize our plane by using the toolpath parameters. It's a plane. We can turn to the here, and then you just need to make them as a constraint plane like this one and this one. And let me recalculate my toolpath. It is calculated already, and then we're gonna see that kind of toolpath is calculated. Okay, we need to do the same things for and other parts actually. So we can easily create and a different level actually. So we can change this one, and we can turn to the actually automatic selection, and we can select that face, and that face. We can use the right mouse button, and we can hit the actually, we can put them as a 60 level maybe, and then we're gonna see that it is calculated automatically like this one. And then I can turn to the chain options. We can select this one, and we can turn to the automatic selection and select this face, oops, and this face. We can use right mouse button and change this one, and it can be 10. Okay, it's okay. And then let me turn to the chain options. We can select this one, and then we can use the right mouse button to change our level. It can be like this. Anyway, I am sure that you get the main idea behind and this perspective actually. we can select this one and the change level. Okay, like this one. Okay, and you can turn to do here. You can select this one and then we can easily change that perspective. And then we can use as a actually level. We can write like this. Anyway, it's fine. Let me turn back to the isometric perspective. Everything seems fine. Let me activate, and at this level we can turn to the toolpath and we can copy that toolpath. Let me copy that toolpath and paste it here, and then we can easily change our the constraint. This is my constraint. As you remember, we can easily change that constraint. So I can select this one as a constraint, and then we can reselect my drive face, select this one and hit that button, and then we just need to turn back to here as a plane and we can change to our plane. And we can recalculate our toolpath. So we can turn to this one. Yeah, actually, yeah, it is not necessary to create that kind of toolpath. You can also use the macro programming approach. Okay, you can create your the one toolpath, and after that you can easily actually use the macro programming approach to rotate that toolpath actually. So you can turn to our macro programming course in Udemy. You're gonna get the main idea behind the macro programming approach actually. So and this is some actually practice maybe and how can we handle that kind of stuff actually. This is just gonna help us to create some actually practicing approach. Okay, and in a normal perspective actually, and you don't need to create that kind of toolpath actually. You just need to create one of them, for example this one, and then you just need to add some macro program, and then you can rotate your the 4 axes for that toolpath. If you get to know macro programming approach, you can easily turn back to our Udemy courses. You're gonna see that in the macro programming and the SwanSoft and courses, and then you can get the main idea behind this. Anyway, I really appreciate your interest, and if you have any idea, please don't hesitate to ask me. I am here to answer your question. We're gonna create huge community all around the world about engineering and also manufacturing process. Thank you very much and take care.